A man who's spent the past 2 months in an Iraqi jail says he was jumping for joy when he heard he was to be released from prison. Brian Glendinning from Fife was arrested in Basra airport on the 12th of September after he failed to pay the balance on a £20,000 loan he took out at the Qatar National Bank when he was living in Doha in 2016. He'd been placed on a list to be extradited back to the country, something he says he was unaware of. Last week, the bank issued a clearance note stamped by the Qatari authorities saying they no longer wanted to extradite him. And yesterday, he was released from jail. He's expected to return home to Kincardine in the coming days. Katrina Renton has been following the story.
The news Brian Glendinning's family has been waiting for. Yesterday, he was released from prison in Iraq.
Just over the moon. I've been dreaming of this. I've been dreaming of this for 9 weeks. And all I've been doing for 9 weeks is phoning my family, Brian's wife, and delivering bad news. At 11:35 a.m. yesterday, I got to deliver the news that I've been dreaming of. And that was that my brother, your husband, your son's been released.
In September, Brian Glendinning arrived in Iraq to start a new job in the oil industry.
He's went to Iraq based on, it was obviously a well-paying job. On his way there, when he arrived in Basra, he was detained by the Iraqi Interpol to say he was on the red list, and he was put there by the country of Qatar.
In 2016, Brian was working in Qatar when he took out a £20,000 loan with a local bank. His family said he made the payments until the following year when he lost his job through ill health. They said he tried to contact the bank about the remaining £5,000 balance but heard nothing back. And he never knew that he'd been sentenced to 2 years in prison by a Qatari court and placed on a list of wanted fugitives. Brian told John about the conditions he lived in.
Brian's been living in very terrible, poor conditions. He's been held in a room, up to 46 people at one point, he was telling me. Some of these guys are murderers, and work for terrorist groups and stuff like that. And there's my brother in there for literally what was about £5,000 worth of a loan.
Campaigners say Brian has been really lucky that he was only in prison for 2 months before being allowed home to his family.
There is no chance whatsoever that he would be coming home this week had we not made these significant and strong media and diplomatic representations. There is simply no chance. There are other people in Iraq prison at the moment from other countries, and one of them's been there for almost a year so far.
Brian was met by British Embassy staff on his release yesterday from a prison in Baghdad.
Until my brother lands in Scottish soil, he's not home yet. In my eyes, I know he's in a hotel. I've spoken to him, I saw him. I know this. But, right now they're trying to sort out Brian's exit visa. He's not home yet. I want my brother home just now, but I expect him home this week, so I can give him what I've been wanting to give him since he's left when this ordeal started, and that's a big hug and a kiss.
Katrina's here now. Katrina, fair to say we saw there clearly a lot of relief today from the family.
And it's hoped that all going well, Brian Glendinning will be home in Kincardine at the end of the week. Now, we've had a text from Brian himself via John, and he said that he thought it would be months before he got released. So let me quote for you from the text. "So when I heard I was being released, I felt a massive relief. I was jumping around the cell shouting freedom. To just get to call my wife and family and tell them I'm coming home was the best phone call home I'd made in weeks."
Yeah, that must be pretty special. And obviously we've got the Qatar World Cup coming up just this weekend. Brian's family have issued a warning for people travelling there, haven't they?
That's right, and so has Radha Stirling, who you saw in my report. Now, she has represented hundreds of people unfairly detained in or at risk of being extradited to the United Arab Emirates and the Middle East. Now, she said tourists could be at risk and highlights, for example, the treatment of LGBTQ+ people there. Now, she said assurance that the authorities will turn a blind eye just isn't enough, and that if the people in Qatar want people to come there as tourists, then the laws should be changed. Now, Qatar says all fans will be welcomed to the World Cup without discrimination.
Yeah, thanks very much, Katrina, for following this story, and hopefully we'll catch up with Brian on his return. Thank you.